if you've had Hello. We are here. We are live, I think. Helen, are we live? Are you live? Are we here?
We are live. We're here. We're alive.
Helen just said before we started, I've got a feeling we're going to be in a giggly mood tonight. And I think what that does to me is then make me want to be giggly. So that's why I think that was a really bizarre start to this live, because you just prompted me to feel like I should be silly. Good evening, everybody. Happy 6 p.m. I like this time. I like 6. We don't normally do lives at 6, but I feel like it's a good time. More people are potentially here. Let us know who is here. We could see you. So let us know who is here. How are you? We want to see lots of comments. We want you to engage with us. Ellen, how are you doing, love? Are you all right?
I am fabulous. I am really good. It's been a beautiful sunny day. Every opportunity I've got today, I've gone in the garden and sat in the sun like a plant.
Well, I'm jealous. I have been here all day in this. And you know what? I like working here, but there's no natural light. So whenever I'm not doing Zoom calls or coaching, I just go in that office over there, just because it does make a difference not having natural light. So that I envy you that you've been getting sunlight, Helen. But I'm glad for you. And also, do you want to tell people a little bit about your journey as well? Because I know that I don't know if you want to share this. If you don't have to. But I know that you've been going through putting her on the spot here. You can always tell me to cough if you want as well.
So I have got anxiety disorders. I've got OCD, which is like a lifelong condition, but I've had treatment for that really successfully. I'm doing great. And then I've also, as a kind of byproduct of that, got agoraphobia, which people might be like, what? No, you've not. But I think people have a massive misunderstanding of what agoraphobia actually is. So to give you a very brief outline of what it is, people think it's that you can't leave the house, and that's not true. Although in some small amount of cases, it does become that severe that is the case. But for me, it's more about I have anxiety about going anywhere, and particularly alone. So I'm great if I'm with friends and people I trust and family and stuff, but I manage to get into most situations that way. But when I'm alone, I don't really go anywhere alone, to be honest. I can go for a walk to the local park and that's about it. So I have spoken to the mental health team, and now the OCD is under control. We're going to start treating that. So that's absolutely amazing.
As you bloody do. It's like you just think you've achieved one thing, and as we talk about in self-development, we're never done, are we? There's always work to be done. But it's really positive, because I know that you were sharing on a live video that you just did earlier about like they're surprised at how well you've and how much you've accomplished, I guess, right? Which is they're suggesting that you only need 6 weeks, right? Whereas you thought it could have been a lot longer.
Yeah, because the OCD treatment was 6 months. Yeah. So I was thinking like, oh, I'm going back into all this again. And I was really apprehensive, but they've said that like basically it's the same again, essentially, but just tackling different fears and different situations and things. So I'm just having 6 weeks of treatment, and that should be that. And I should be good to go then and off and independent again, which like, honestly, like all of my adult life, I've never had that. So that is going to be just so amazing if I can just start like just going off adventuring on my own. Like,
wow,
going to see me for dust. You'd be like, where is she?
She's gone again, bloody hell. But that is the power, right? I think that the
Yeah.
thing that they've kept bringing up, right, is how well you're doing because of how strong your mindset is and how,
that's it.
and that's why they're saying, actually, we believe in you. We believe you probably only need 6 weeks of work at this to overcome it, right?
That's exactly it. And that's what on my own Instagram page, I've just done a live and I was talking about this towards the end, where I do believe in a multifaceted approach to these things. And I don't think that there's just, there are obviously proven therapies that work for things like OCD and agoraphobia, but I definitely think all of this work that I've done over the last 5 years with Matt, working on mindset, building resilience, learning how to manage my own emotions, learning how to do the hard things, do the things I don't want to do, put myself into situations I don't want to be in, get comfortable with being uncomfortable and understand that growth is going to come through being uncomfortable. And that is all why this therapy that I'm going to be having now, I'm going to do it in such a short space of time, because they know from seeing the last 6 months of what I did with the OCD therapy, everything they asked me to do, I did. And even though it was way out of my comfort zone, it was really, really difficult at times. I just did it because I know what is on the other side of that. And as long as I can keep that in mind and I can be like, this is going to be horrible in the now, but what's going to come from this is going to be good. And that is all down to the mindset work, all down to what I've done with Matt, because that is what he's coached me for 5 years about is, you've got to move through that discomfort.
Yeah.
Pretty much everything you want is on the other side of your comfort zone.
That's right. Absolutely amazing. They say hard things, easy life. If you're willing to do the harder things in the short term, your life becomes better in the long term. So just catching up on some comments here, because we are so excited about this call tonight. Do stay with us because we think there's a lot of things for people to consider, to be aware of, that we're going to share this evening. I can see that GB is here. Kelly, we can see Helen Short. Hey, Helen. Carol Whiteley says she's still smiling, which is amazing. Amy Forrest, how are you doing, Amy? Let us know in the comments. How's things? Yeah, Kelly saying loving the lights in the background. Carol says such good news, Helen. Anybody over on Facebook? Is anybody there? Is anybody out there?
People watching, but they're not saying hi, so we don't know who they are. So I'm going to put say hi.
Say hi. Come on, you
Let's
buggers.
See who's here.
Speak to us.
Show yourselves.
We hope you're all having a great day. So today's topic that we spoke about, we're going to talk about 5 things I wish I knew when I started working on self-development. And you're actually getting 10 for the price of 5 here, folks. Not that there's a price. It's completely free, this. But we're both going to share 5, right? Because we were just chatting and there's just so many things. When we go back to when we started this journey, I mean, I started self-development, I think, maybe around 2012. I first read, I think, probably Duncan Bannatyne's book, which I thought was a business book, but it was a bit more self-development mindset, really. And then I think probably 2014, 2015 is when I really got into podcasts and listening weekly and reading more books about the subject. So coming up to nearly 10 years now. And then obviously years later, I hired a coach. And there's just so much when I reflect now that hopefully in us sharing this is going to help some people that are maybe thinking about working on themselves, or maybe they're at the beginning of their journey, or maybe you've been doing it for a while, but you need these reminders. So we're going to give you 5 each based on our personal life experience, 5 things we wish we knew. Helen, I'll let you start. What's the first thing for you that you want to share that you wish you knew?
So my first one is your self-awareness is terrible.
Whoa, hang on. That's not what you said to me, Helen. That's the PG version.
I don't swear on live streams, Matthew. I'm a nice girl. Okay, your self-awareness is shit.
That's how she said it to me. I was like, cheers, bloody hell. But a big point, right?
Yeah, it is. Because if you'd have asked me before I went on this journey, how well do you know yourself? I'd have said, well. And actually, I knew myself on such a surface level that it soon became very apparent as I started doing the deeper work and I started to look at, my thoughts, my behaviors, the things that held me back, the reason why I was the way I was, and I started to explore myself deeper through doing exercises that we do in personal development, I realized that my self-awareness was atrocious and I actually didn't know myself very well at all. So that has been a massive lesson, and definitely still an ongoing lesson, I would say, actually. I feel like I know myself very well now, but there's still probably parts of myself that I haven't entirely delved into and got to know. And also, we change and we evolve and we grow. So it's ever changing.
I don't know the exact statistic, but it actually is, if you look into this kind of stuff, a very small amount of people who have good self-awareness. And self-awareness is not an easy thing. It doesn't come natural. People think they're self-aware, but they're so not. And self-awareness obviously spans a whole load of different things, like being aware about your potential, being aware about how you show up, being aware of your behavior, your habits, being aware of your limiting beliefs and the stories you tell yourself. There's so much around self-awareness. But what I always say is there's no self-development without self-awareness. The foundations of self-development come from self-awareness. And kind of one of the things that I speak about really is when it comes to coaching, you need to be coachable. Like if I'm going to work with a client, I can only work with you if you're going to work with me. And I've seen it with clients where it just doesn't work because they don't have the awareness to go, actually, I'm not ready. And I'm not aware that I'm not ready to actually change and to listen to what I need to do to change, because I'm in these patterns of constantly defending or making excuses that when a coach tries to work with you, you're not ready because you're not aware of how many of these patterns you've created. So self-awareness is key. There's no development, there's no improvement, there's no real achievement without self-awareness. But through self-awareness, you learn how to develop, you learn how to grow, and then that's when you can start to really make some changes. So I think that's a big one. And I think like anyone listening right now, are you working at becoming more self-aware? Are you really working at it? Or is it something that you just filter out, you distort, you delete, you generalize, and you're not actually focused on it? Because it's a big one and it will facilitate growth in every area of your life when you become a person who is more self-aware. Which brings me up to my first thing that I wish I knew. It will get harder before it gets easier. And I think people think they make that decision and they're like, right, I'm going to work with a coach. I'm going to invest in myself. I'm ready. And there's almost on some level this idea that I've done the hard bit now. And actually the hard bit's just beginning. And further on that, when you start learning a lot more about self-awareness and you start learning about, okay, that's what I keep doing wrong, and you learn more about psychology and you understand the mind a little bit more, and you understand patterns, and you learn about things like the reticular activation system and all these things and what triggers you. And once you become aware of it all, that's like a positive. But then when it comes to actually applying in day-to-day life, what I found time and time again with clients, and I know it was the same for me when I started and still is at times, is just because you're aware of what you're doing wrong doesn't mean you'll immediately start to do it right. So initially what happens is it becomes doubly hard because you're still getting it wrong. You're still not doing the right thing. And now you also know how you should be doing it better. So there's this, and this is why a lot of people quit, because they just get frustrated. And actually, you have to be okay with being shit for a bit and learning why you're being shit for a bit, and actually not necessarily massively changing being shit for a bit, because you need to become aware for long enough sometimes till you start to really change behavioral patterns. And it can be a bit of a, one step forward, two step back feeling. And that's why people quit a lot of the time. So the first thing that I want to share that I wish I knew at the beginning is, it is probably going to get a bit harder before it gets easier, but that's normal. That's okay. It's not a reason to quit. Anything you want to add to that, or do you want to give us your second one?
I'll add a little bit to that. I think it's because it's very natural for us to avoid what's uncomfortable as well. And I think when we start digging into ourselves and we start finding parts of ourselves that are less than perfect and that are, are going to require some serious work. Sometimes we feel like we haven't got the courage to face that, and we don't want to have to sort of delve into that. And also, I think it's just sometimes easier to be in denial. And when it actually gets brought to our attention and we start to realize, it can be very difficult. But like you said, as long as you just persevere with it and you push through it, actually, it can all change quite quickly. And actually, when it does, and you have that awareness and you start to be able to maybe not catch it all the time, but some of the time, and you start realizing that you're responding to things differently than you would have previously, it's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's move us on to number 2. What's the second thing you wish you'd have known at the beginning?
That it's a lifelong journey, and that yeah, because I think when I first came into coaching, I thought it would be like, oh, do this for a few months, sort myself out, and away you go, and you'll be like this perfectly functioning human. And it's definitely not that. But what I will say is the fact that it's a lifelong journey makes me really happy now, because I wouldn't ever like to hit a point where I'm like, I'm done. I'm done. I'm a fully formed, perfectly functioning human that doesn't need to improve myself anymore, because I actually really enjoy learning and growing. And I think one of the biggest sort of purposes of why we're here is to grow.
I also think it's about contributing to the world at a higher level. I think if we get complacent in, well, I've arrived now, my shit's in order, I'm good, then the world misses out on our gift. And it's like, if you're willing to keep on growing, you're able to serve others at a higher level. And that is a never-ending journey. So I just think it's that realization, because some people are like, oh my God, it never ends. Well, yeah, but it's also a really nice thing that it never ends. As long as we're here, we've got opportunity to do good.
Yeah.
Why would you not want to do that? But there's a phrase, for every level, there's a new devil. So it's like for every time you achieve something more and you reach a new level of life, just like when you're playing a game on the Xbox or whatever, it's like there's new levels. Well, there might be new things that you've never done before, which then requires a new level of self-development again. But in doing so, you're able to serve others at a higher level and do good for others and give back to the world at a higher level. So it really is both a selfish and selfless journey.
Yeah.
In my opinion, is self-development. The more you give to yourself, the more you're able to give to others. And for that reason, why would you want it to ever stop?
Exactly.
Why would you ever want to go, I've reached it now, I've looked after my family, sod it now? Like, there's more to life. And it's also about, it's just how we're kind of hardwired as humans. Like, we're hardwired to want to keep improving. And anybody that's ever, I don't know, maybe bought a house or maybe got a job. When you first got that house or you first got that job, you might be like, oh my God, I can't believe it. I got the job, or I've saved up, I've got the deposit, I got this house. Stay there for 10 years. Most people go, I want to have at least had a promotion at this point. And most people, that house, they're like, lived here 10 years now. I'd like something, whether it be a bit bigger or in a nicer area or whatever. Whatever was once an achievement will fast become your new baseline normal. And if it's normal, it stops being fulfilling and exciting and as enjoyable as it was when it was new. So it's just how we're hardwired. So when you think, oh, the journey never ends, it doesn't mean it's a negative thing. It can be a really rewarding, fulfilling, exciting thing, that there is always more to experience. There is more growth to be had. There is more achievement to be had. And there's more you can give to others the more that you grow. So I think that's an important one. I see Carol speaking there about my first point there, saying this is so bloody true, Matt. Such a really tough journey. Yeah, that it can be really challenging before it gets easier. But it's not a reason to quit. There's a phrase that I say, hard choices equals easier life. Easy choices equals a harder life. If you're just going to choose the easy shit all the time, your life will be harder. Whereas if you choose to do the hard stuff, like eat the healthy food, go to the gym, get out of bed rather than lay in and snooze your alarm, you know, those harder small decisions compounding over time, you will have an easier, better life. All right. Number 2 for me that I reflected on is you learn through failure and not success. So start to embrace it. This is so hard to get people to, okay, so intellectually they understand it quite easily, but then when they look inward, decisions and goals, they play it safe. And I go, why are you playing it safe? Well, what if it don't work out? And I'm like, but you understand intellectually, you learn the most through failure. Therefore, failure is essential for success.
Yeah.
So, and then when people hear that, they go, oh yeah. And then if we go to the worst case scenario, and it's usually, well, if I fail, I'll now know for certain that isn't right. I'll have probably learned a load of things. And with that new knowledge and experience, that's going to really well equip me for the next phase. Oh, so that's the worst it gets. That's what failure is. Suddenly it's not a major issue. But I heard there was a video I saw of Ed Sheeran speaking about his success. And he was like, seriously, you learn nothing from success. You just go, oh, well done. It worked. Brilliant. Nice feeling. He said, all the learning comes from the failures. He was like, all the learning comes from the crap songs that he's written, from his voice breaking, from playing the wrong strings, for doing gigs with only 2 people and nobody listening. He was like, that is where you become successful, in those moments, not when you play in Wembley Stadium. You play Wembley Stadium because of those small gigs where you were crap. And I just find it's a challenging one for people to start to be comfortable with. But if you can reframe failure as just an essential step to success, therefore you can embrace it. I have heard Stephen Bartlett speak about, with all his teams in his businesses, they've created a culture which is, how quickly can we get to failure? Like, the sooner we get to failure, the sooner we learn, the sooner we can be ahead of our competition. So their culture in their whole business is, let's get to failure quickly. Let's fail, not let's get to success, because they understand the sooner they fail, the sooner they have the success. So I just think it's a really important thing for everyone to start to become more comfortable with. Failure is not a bad thing. Failure is the best place you learn. And when you learn, you grow. When you grow, you can be more successful. Anything from you, Helen?
Yeah, I think it's just a massive part of it is learning to manage your ego, isn't it? And to leave your ego at the door, because that's the only part of us that gets hurt by failure is our ego. And if we realise that, actually, everybody fails. And like you've just said, Stephen Bartlett, all the greats, I'm a massive fan of space and stuff, and rockets and all of that stuff. And I watch a lot of SpaceX kind of stuff, and you see them launch a rocket and they're not expecting it to reach orbit. When they're trialing them, they expect to fail and they learn from the failure. And when you start to see that, even on that scale, that it's like, everybody has to fail to learn. And when you can start to reframe it like that, it changes the game.
Love that. Tell us about your second one, Helen. Oh no, third one. We're going on to number 3.
The third one is the slow way is the fast way, which is
Preach it, sister. Get them told. This is a massive one.
Yeah, and this has been a massive one on my journey. I have always been someone that has taken this journey slowly. And I'm really glad that I have. And I always say this to Matt, because there is no quick way to develop yourself. There is no quick way to, address all of the things that you need to address, and to learn what you need to learn, and to grow the way you need to grow. And so for me, this has been something that almost I've done naturally. And I think probably because I'm somebody that can get quite overwhelmed and stuff, I just naturally do things more slowly and I don't jump into things feet first. But it's served me so well along the way. And I think anybody that goes into this sort of thing with an expectation of, well, I'm just going to rush through all this stuff, learn it all, and then it's not going to work that way. It's got to be done properly and given the time that it deserves and the respect that it deserves. And I think in terms of, like, you look at any sort of goal, for me, I write, and you imagine how long it takes to write a novel. But if you rush it, you're going to end up with a rubbish novel. Yeah. And it's exactly the same with your own life. You can't rush these things. But if you do it at the right pace and in your own time, you get the results.
Let me add to this as well, because this is massive. And what you said there about there is no fast way, I think that's one of the key things for people to really reflect on. When you start seeing these coaches and people online saying 6-pack in 6 weeks, or, 6 figures in 10 months, 12 months, whatever, whenever people are trying to sell you this quick hack on how you can do stuff super, super, super quick, usually what you're going to do is go all into that, realize it takes longer, realize it's harder, then get frustrated, fed up, burn out, quit, and be back to square one. So in trying to take that faster route, all you've done is actually slow yourself down, right? Rather than doing things in a sustainable, manageable way. And I think something interlinked with this is desperation. It's that thing of I need it now, or people with a 6-pack in 6 weeks, it's usually I'm going on holiday, I need this, and then they do extreme things, get fit maybe for holiday, and then come back off holiday super fat. Why? Because they weren't learning sustainable habits for life. No. They were doing something for a quick fix, and in doing so, they're now double fat when they get back off holiday potentially. So that wasn't a quick fix. You've slowed yourself down. Imagine if you'd have spent that 6 weeks building foundations and being sensible and doing something sustainable, you'd be further ahead than trying to pick the fastest route. And this idea of desperation in business, desperation in relationships, this needing it now will just repel all the good, right? And when you look at desperation, when I'm working with clients that are desperate for money, it's one of the worst places to make decisions for your business. It's the worst when you're like, I need money now, because we know that building a business on solid ground is predominantly going to be based on getting people to know, like, and trust you. So if you start doing things needing money fast, you're not going to be able to build solid, sustainable relationships that can become potentially customers, clients, partners for life. So desperation, needing a quick fix, needing the quick way, and so on, is very rarely going to ever serve you in the long run. And that is why I love that phrase. The slow way is the fast way. If you can decide today to stop trying to find the cheat code and the way to get it there really, really quick, and just start working now on slow, consistent foundation building, that slow way will mean you get results way faster than constantly going from the quick fix to a next quick fix to a next quick fix. So moving on to my third thing that I wish I knew at the beginning. Most people won't like it, and that is okay. When you decide, I need to change, I want to change, enough is enough, we can often have this perception that, I now want to do some good, I want to make a positive change, and therefore people are going to be cheering for me and supporting that. What I have learned is the vast majority of people will not like it. A vast majority of people will think you're doing some weird cult-like con scam. They'll think you're doing fake positivity. And a lot of people will just feel like you're holding a mirror up to them. If you genuinely are being happier or getting fitter or healthier or stronger or starting to earn more money or starting up a business, and they're not, and they're just stuck in a rut going around doing the same thing on repeat, that's like holding a mirror going, why are you not improving? And people don't like that. And it's much easier to criticize someone doing well than it is to look inward and reflect on why are you not doing better. So actually just having that awareness and recognizing why people don't support you can help you be at peace with it. And rather than focus on them, focus on staying in your own lane. I see Carol said, even those close to you, sadly, usually those closest to you, in my experience, for a lot of people. But hey, look, we're all sharing the same thing here. It's a commonality. So it's not about trying to change it and be like, it's not fair, life's so hard. It is what it is. What you can change is where you place your focus. Why are you focusing on needing everybody to agree with you? If you are working on being a better person, then keep on working on being a better person without the need for validation and support and encouragement. There are, and this is why we do Success School. There are places where other people are doing it too. Spend a bit of time with them. Get validation from being around their energy and inspiration. And with this, obviously, it's a common thing with many clients I've worked with. I've seen it time and time again. People are like if people are in a relationship, one person's growing, one person's working with me, and they're like, my missus isn't, or whatever. what I would always say is show, don't tell. Show, don't tell. Just keep on your path. And if you're being a better person, why not serve that person better? Be a better boyfriend, be a better husband, be a better wife, a girlfriend, whatever. Be better. Show them that self-development works. Don't tell them you should be doing this. Why aren't you doing it? Why aren't you going to the gym? Why aren't you eating healthy? Let them stay on their journey. And if you're developing and becoming better, be better. And actually, what I've seen quite a few times now is the other person starts to go, do you know what? I weren't sure about this, but fair play. I can see the change and it's lovely to see. And hey, you've inspired me. So stay in your own lane, focus on genuinely being a better person, not needing validation. And who knows, through showing that you're genuinely doing it, through your actions and your behaviors and your attitudes, they might just come along on this journey with you as well, potentially. Anything you want to add before we move on?
Yeah, I think most people on this journey have experienced that. I certainly have. And I think it's about understanding the psychology behind it and not taking it personally and not being hurt by it. And it's easier said than done. But like Carol's just said, and I have found exactly the same myself, most of my support on this journey hasn't come from where I thought it would.
Yep.
And that's okay. That's something that I've learned along this way, is that it doesn't matter where it comes from. And it, you know, yes, it would be lovely if everybody was stood there with the pom-poms cheering you on, but it's not always going to be the case. People have their own selfish reasons for not wanting to see you change. But it's about not focusing on that and focusing on, well, where is the support coming from? And who is cheering me on, and redirecting your energy towards that. And like you said, very often you do find that further down the line, these people that were the naysayers and that haven't supported it start seeing you to become happier, healthier, more fulfilled, and then want a piece of that pie for themselves and then get on board. So it's just,
I always think of one client in particular, and he was like, you know what, it's really pissing me off now because my missus, like, I'm getting up early, I'm going out, I'm getting my steps in, I'm listening to a podcast, I'm getting fresh, I'm starting my day, you know, clear-minded, and then I get back and she's still in bed and and I'm like, you're so lazy, and I spoke to him about, you know, what we've said here on this live, and I was like, show, don't tell. And genuinely, this is a true story. About 6 weeks later, from her being quite cynical and being like, oh, this personal development shit and all that, and judgmental of it, he genuinely was a better partner. And I was like, why not make a breakfast in bed? Why not do something for her? If you're feeling better about you, give back to her now. And about 6 weeks or so later, she not only was she like, look, fair play, this is brilliant, and I'm sorry I judged you. She actually became a client of mine. She was actually like, could I book some sessions with Matt? And we ended up doing some really deep, serious work that she needed to do. And had he have kept nagging at her, could have been a very, very different outcome, right? So, I mean, I just think that's quite a good example, you know, an experience that I've had where a client of mine has his partner saying, why are you doing that shit? And eventually, because he followed my advice, she also became a client and got the help. And then that added to their relationship. It added to their being parents for their children and, you know, all the rest of it. Anyway, so that is number 3 from both of us, isn't it? Number 4 from you, Helen. What have you got?
Number 4 is that it actually doesn't have as much to do with the goal as you think it does. And what I mean by that is, obviously, usually people will come into personal development because they've got a goal in mind and they're not managing to achieve that, or they don't even know how to start with that. And they think that the goal is the problem. And what we see time and time again is that actually the goal isn't the problem. It's becoming the person you need to become in order to achieve the goal.
Yeah, I think a lot of the time people think, oh, it's the strategy, or, oh, I don't have the answers, I don't have the information, I don't know the steps. It's often the strategy is usually important. Like I always share fitness as a simple one. I always say it's generally quite easy. Eat less, move more, you'll lose fat and you'll get fitter and you'll be healthier. That's the strategy. There's the step. Go, get on with it. It's not the goal, the outcome. It's not the steps, the strategy, the process. It's here. Who do you believe you are? It's an internal job. And like you said there perfectly, it's about you need to start to become internally the person who's capable of being consistent in taking those steps, right?
Yeah, getting out of your own way and it's the hardest thing to learn because we all get in our own way. But this journey, all of the coaching that we do, it's all about learning how to do that. And for me, time and time again, I see it in Success School, but it's so lovely when you see somebody finally kind of put it all into practice and get out of their own way, and then boom, they go, and it's like, you know, they don't look back. But it's definitely, I remember when, you know, I came to Success School myself all them years ago, and I was like, I want to write a book. And it wasn't that I didn't know how to write a book. It wasn't that I didn't have the skills or ability to write a book. It was the fact that I was getting in my own way and self-sabotaging myself every step of the way. That's what we worked on. That's what we overcome. That's been the difference.
Just want to, while we take a midway pause from the things that we're sharing, I just want to find out who that is watching now has signed up for our completely free challenge that we're doing next month. Put a 1 in the chat. I know if Lindsay, she likes a good 1 in the chat. Let us know if you've signed up for the 4-day challenge. Put a 1 in the chat. Put a 2 in the chat if you haven't yet, or haven't got a clue what I'm talking about. Because I just want to be clear. This 4-day challenge is something that we do every single year. It's completely free. It's 4 days where every night for 4 consecutive days at 7 p.m. I give you completely free coaching on all the stuff we're talking about here, you know, self-development, mindset, goal setting, habits, behaviors, routines, the things that are going to set you up on the right path, whatever your goals are. We go through the foundations that you need to become aware of. So let us know in the chat, 1, if you're signed up, 2, if you're not, / you have no idea what I'm talking about. And also, has anyone got any questions, any comments, anything anyone wants to add in terms of the content that we're talking about and the things that we're saying here? I can see Carol over on Instagram says, bloody hell, Helen, that's exactly what I was doing about mirror work. I was in my own way until today. And yeah, Carol and I had a really powerful one-to-one session. So massive well done, Carol. Anything over there on Facebook, Helen?
Yes, we've had quite a few comments on Facebook. Let's have a look. Matthew Banks has said, hello, Matt Hall. How are you? Hi, everyone. And then he's also said, the fact in life is that there will always be hurdles. Life is very challenging at times. Never, ever give up on what you want to achieve in life. Keep working towards your goals. Very, very true.
Love that. Yeah.
And then loads of people are just saying hi to us that are here. Yvonne, Leanne, big shout out to you guys. Yvonne has said when she started doing her inner work, her mum thought she joined a cult. We've all been there. All been there. It's one of our favourite sayings. It's not a cult.
I think my parents still think I'm in one, to be fair. They just think I've been promoted to cult leader or something.
Cult leader. So that made me cult deputy now, Matt.
Yeah, maybe, yeah. Yeah, you're going to get more stick as well. So guys, if anyone's not already joined, like, this is completely free. I do it once a year, every year, sometimes twice. We're doing it next month in September. It all takes place online. It's all on Zoom. It's all completely free. You just need to sign up so that we can send you all the details properly. Helen, are you all right to jump in the comments and put the link? If anyone wants to join and they haven't already, we'll drop the link now. Here's a quick 60-second video telling you a little bit more, and then we will go through our final things we wish we knew.
If you've had the best summer holidays but you now feel totally out of your routine, lacking all motivation and like you've got this massive mountain to climb just to start feeling productive again, then the 4-day Life Enhancer Challenge is here to help.
I joined Matt's challenge back in September of this year. I've actually lost half a stone in weight. I'm out of this dark hole that I was in. I'm actually living. I've got goals.
You really do come away with having unshakable confidence. It's a great way to really become more disciplined, to feel motivated, and I highly recommend anyone to try it.
Over 4 consecutive days, you will receive totally free high-performance mindset coaching, complete with the accountability that is designed to give you that boost and a kick up the ass so that you can start thriving again in your life, career, and your relationships. And for the first time ever, I'm going to be joined by some guest experts who are also here to help. We'll be focusing on taking back control, gaining clarity on your goals, setting positive habits, and totally overcoming that overwhelm. If you want to finish your year strong and achieve the stuff that you say you want, then click that link to sign up. It's a completely free online group coaching program. Sign up, I'll send you the details to join, and then I'll see you on the 23rd of September.
There you go. If you want a good kick up the ass, if you want to learn some stuff about positive psychology and join a community of people who are all doing the same thing, we're pretty confident we're going to have hundreds and hundreds of people. There's always around 500 people that do this with us each year. We're potentially going to have more than that this time. I think we only announced this 3 days ago, and we've got over 60 people signed up in just a couple of days, and it's not until the 23rd of September. So click that link, sign up. If you can't see the link anyway, just drop me a DM, and I will send you the link to get you signed up, and we would love to see you there. Once again, it's completely free. I'm not going to force you into stuff. I'm not gonna be like, you now need to give me $5,000. There's none of that, like I've seen many times. You know, I will tell you a little bit about Success School, which is free to join anyway. And then if you want to stay with us, it's just 19 quid a month. So yeah, I will mention that a couple of times, and that's it. There's no big hard sell. Right, shall we jump into the next one, Helen?
Yeah, have you done your number 4?
No, I'm going into it now. Yeah, my penultimate one, I believe they call it, penultimate one. So the fourth thing that I wish I knew when I started that is really important to recognize, I think, is the information is not enough. So I think because of sort of societally and culturally, like a lot of what we are taught when we're growing up is like, basically we're judged on exams. We're judged on our ability to be told information, retain that information, and then regurgitate information. And it's like, if you can do that, you'll score high in GCSEs, or I don't even know, do they call them GCSEs anymore? I don't know. I'm at that old age where it's probably all different. But so because it's ingrained with us, I guess, from such a young age, that information being retained is what you get rewarded highly on. When we start to do self-development, we can sometimes do what I call shelf development and just keep listening to podcasts, watching lives like this, reading books, almost as if we're doing really good self-development work. We're not. We're doing shelf development work. Now, that's not to say it's not great, it's not important, it's not helpful, but the most vital thing is acting on the information. And the thing that's going to keep you generally being consistent is feeling inspired, in spirit, as they say. So the phrase that I sort of share to remind people of this is, it's not information, it's inspiration that you need. So if you are not achieving, and if you are, whatever that goal is, if it's about relationship goals, if it's fitness goals and fat loss, health goals, if it's financial goals, and if you're not achieving what you want, usually you'll know the information. You'll know what you need to do to achieve the goal, but you're not inspired. You're not around enough inspiration to keep you on that track. You're not around other people that are doing the same thing, that are encouraging you, that are supporting you, that are pushing you, that are showing you the way. Getting to events, you know, getting around inspiration in person is one of the best things. It's why we now do events as well. But be mindful and be strategic about it. And often when you're demotivated, the last thing you want is inspiration. So be aware of that and go, just because I always talk about, you know, learning the skill of acting to feel, not acting how you feel. So if you feel demotivated, if you feel uninspired, if you consistently act how you feel, it's going to stunt your growth. It's going to hold you back. That's not to say sometimes we need to embrace emotion and sit with it and talk about it. I'm not saying that there isn't a place for that. But if we're consistently acting how we feel, we're likely going to hold ourselves back. You know, if we feel tired, we act tired. If we feel demotivated, we act demotivated. It's learning the skill set to act in spite of how you feel, to change how you feel. So I feel demotivated. I don't feel inspired, but I'm going to logically decide to get around things that will help me feel that inspiration, because it's the inspiration that's going to create the momentum to keep on going. And I sometimes put like voice notes in the WhatsApp group, don't I, with our Success School community. And I'll say, listen, if you're feeling good and you're smashing it right now and you show up to the Zoom tonight, great, nice. But the ones that right now are going, Matt, I'm sick of your voice, can't be bothered with your positivity, can't be bothered with your Zoom calls. If you show up tonight, that's the biggest win, because anyone can be great when they feel great. What do you do when you've been feeling low, demotivated, uninspired? Do you just sit on your pity party day in, day out, week in, week out, month after month? How long are we going to stay there? You can stay there as long as you want. You do whatever you want. But is it serving you? Is it useful to stay in your pity party? Or is it time that you went, you know what? I can't be bothered with your voice, Matt. But go on, bring it on, crack on. And then you start thinking, yeah, he's right. Yeah, he's maybe got a point. Yeah, actually, I do need to do that. Yeah, it is. Right, I'm inspired again, and bang. So please remember this. Information isn't enough. It's the inspiration. And are you being strategic around getting around the things to keep you inspired as often as possible, as best as possible? Anything you want to add, Helen?
Yeah, I think this one's one of the biggest ones. And definitely that's something that's been so beneficial within Success School, because I think sometimes, like we were saying before, about not everybody around you is going to be on board with this journey, and not everybody around you is kind of going after big goals like you are. That sometimes you can almost like talk yourself out of it and deter yourself because you feel afraid and you feel overwhelmed. And to get around inspirational people who are all working on big goals, who are all pushing for better, motivates you, it keeps you on track, it makes it seem more like the norm. And I think that's massive, because if you're surrounded by people who are playing small, who are thinking small, who are having negative conversations, who are living this kind of other life, it's so easy to keep getting sucked back in and to like that crab bucket mentality thing. Whereas when you can get around the inspiring right people that are going to help you stay motivated, when you see somebody else smashing it, if you're on a fitness journey, this is why slimming clubs work. If you're on a slimming journey and you can see other people losing weight and you can see them actually achieving their goals, it helps you to stay motivated, to stick to it. And it's exactly the same with this journey. You see somebody else and you know that, you know, it's challenging them and it's difficult for them, and they're continuously pushing out of their comfort zone, they're continuously trying really hard. It makes you feel like, yeah, I should be doing that too. What's my excuse? And it keeps you on track.
Yeah, and we are a product of our environment. Like if you're constantly around other people making excuses, moaning, whining, you know, it's a phrase that you hear, misery likes company. Like it's very easy to get around that misery and stay in that if you're not careful. So be mindful of your environment, who you're talking to, who you're surrounding yourself with, who are you watching, who are you listening to. It's very, very easy to find negativity, but it's your responsibility, if you want a positive life, to go looking for that inspiration as well. Are we on to our fifth one already? This has gone quick.
Going quick. It's because it's so much fun. We're both passionate about this subject, so passionate that it's just flown by. Could talk about this all day.
All right. Shall we? We've got to the end, folks. Just let us know before we do, actually. Has this been useful? Has there been any light bulb, if I can speak, any light bulb moments, I meant to say, for anybody? Is there any realizations? Is there anything they'd like to share? We always appreciate the engagement and any feedback, so please do let us know. And hopefully this has been useful as well. Right, without further ado, shall we share the fifth thing that we both wish we'd have known? What is yours, Helen?
Okay, mine is you find your tribe, which feeds on actually really nicely from that last point that you were talking about. This has been amazing for me, genuinely. Like, this makes me emotional because I think a lot of us go through life and you feel like you never quite fit anywhere, and you feel like, you know, you make friends and then you just, I've always had this thing where I feel like I've never fit. How sad's that?
By the way, me too, Helen. 100% resonate with this.
Yeah, and then coming into personal development and getting on this journey, I've met a group of people. And, you know, from the outside looking in, we're all so different. And there's such a massive variety of, you know, if you're seeing us all on a night out together, you'd think, like, what on earth do these people have in common? But what these people...
The funny thing is when we do our live events, we do go out and have a few drinks afterwards. So people probably have thought exactly that. What on earth where have they met?
Yeah, like, what do these people share in common? But the thing is, what we all share in common is that we're just all trying to better ourselves. We're all trying to live a happier, healthier, more fulfilling life. And because of that, because we've got this joint sort of want for that, and I think probably most people within that community would resonate with what I've just said, like you did, that they've always felt like, you know, I've just never quite found my tribe, I've never quite fit. That we're all a really close-knit community of people that understand how that feels, and so we all support each other in the right way. We all cheer each other on. We're all there for each other. And because it's such a diverse group, there's always, no matter what it is that you might be working on at that moment in time, or struggling with at that moment in time, or need help with, or need to just like ask a favor from somebody, there's always somebody that is the right fit, which is just amazing. I absolutely love that about our community. And I feel like, because then you feel like you've found your tribe and you feel like you belong, it's then validating as well, that actually, you know, I'm all right just doing me and doing it my way, sort of thing. And it doesn't matter that, because I mean, I've definitely come across what you mentioned in an earlier point, where sometimes people aren't that supportive of your goals, or they don't understand them, or whatever. But to feel accepted and to feel like part of something, and that's been massive for me. It's like we're part of a movement, and I love that. I absolutely love that. But it's not a cult.
To be clear. No, but I also think beyond Success School, here's the thing. When you start learning the principles of self-development and mindset and positive psychology, when you start applying that, what you learn, and working on that, you naturally then gravitate to different types of people, and you're going to attract, ultimately, and I'm going to say this, people might think it's controversial, I don't really care, you're going to attract a higher quality of human. Like, and you're going to, like, because if you are the happiest, healthiest, fittest, strongest, most confident version of yourself, then other people who are the fittest, happiest, healthiest, strongest, wealthiest version of themselves are going to gravitate to that. Because why, when you put in the work and you're being the best version of yourself, would you want to consistently be around people who just take from you, who, you know, moan, who are negative, who don't have as much money, who aren't as happy? Why would you want to surround yourself with that? Just naturally human nature. If you are doing the work, if you are vibing on a higher energy, you want to get around more people that are. So when you're in that quote unquote club, and I'm not talking about Success School here, I'm talking about anybody who is genuinely doing the work, you get better relationships, you get better friendships, you get better opportunities. And ultimately you start living a higher quality, better quality of life. It's as simple as that. That's how you find your tribe. So I just keep hearing like I don't know if you can hear that. I keep like hearing my voice come back to me, and everyone knows one of me is more than enough. So that's the key thing for me, really. Like, I want to shout out Holly, like those of you who know that I started dating in recent months and so on, and like all these relationships that haven't worked for various reasons. It's like I've finally found somebody who's done and is doing the inner work, and it is so different. And that's not to say, I want to be clear, that's not to say like every person I've ever been with isn't doing the work on some level and all the rest of it. But I have found, let's just say I found my match. Like I found somebody who really, really, really gets it, who really is at a similar level to me. And that's attractive. And I want to be around that. And she wants to be around that. And, you know, when you have that, you go, oh, all the doubters, the haters, the people mocking and whatever, what? You just think, so, right, you stay in your position with your thoughts and beliefs and opinions, because vibing here with these people is worth your criticism and hate. So just keep throwing it. Like what I have here is worth your shit. So keep throwing your shit and I'll keep vibing at this level and you still vibing down there if you're happy with that. If you're not, by all means, come and join us. It's a much better place to be up here.
1,000,000% that, Matt. Like, you have just articulated it far better than I did, but it is that, like, I find myself in situations all the time now, and it's actually quite hard when you've not been like that in the past to adapt to that. And then when you find these people that are like starting to become your friends and starting to attract you and starting to want to engage with you, and you're like, you almost get imposter syndrome because you're like, I'm not on your level. I'm not, but you are, because you've done the work and you are on their level. And like, whether you believe in attraction, law of attraction, whatever, vibration, frequency, it's all the same thing. There is some way that people pick up that you are on the wavelength, on the level, on the same vibration, however you want to describe it.
Energy, I would say.
Exactly. They do attract to you, and you do end up surrounded by these people. And I think there's a really interesting thing actually that gets talked about a lot, which is what they call like lucky girl syndrome. And people are like, oh, you know, and I get this from my friends. They're like, oh my God, how have you done that? How have you getting into these situations? How have you? And it's not luck. Like, please realize that I've spent 5 on this stuff and improving me. Where people believe in you, just
I think Helen's internet's not great. Can everybody hear me okay? Am I still here? Could you just let me know in the chat if I'm still here, or is it me that's gone? I think might be Helen that's left us, but if you could just let me know if you're watching this live in the comments, just so I know I'm not speaking to myself, it would be much appreciated. But just following on from something Helen's saying there, some of you have probably heard the saying that luck is when preparation meets opportunity. So if you are putting in the work, if you're consistently preparing for great things, and then an opportunity arises, whether that be in dating, whether that be in fitness, whether it be business, finance, whatever it is. Thanks, guys. There's a slight delay as well between speaking and then you guys hearing it and then the comments. So I'm just getting the comments in now. Thanks, Tiff says you're still there. Carol saying you are still fine. Matt, thanks. What I'm going to do, actually, I'm just going to kick Helen out because it might prompt her to then re-enter, and then her internet might be better at that point. I'm going to go to my 5th one anyway, because it's my turn to share my 5th and final thing that I wish I knew when I started the journey. And I hope you'll agree that there's been some really important ones, and we've covered a lot this evening. I would say that if there was one thing I could help people realize tonight out of these 10, ultimately, I think this final one would be the biggest one, the one that I would really, really want you to take on board, to listen to. And the 5th one is that you are already enough. And I want to go into this because it sometimes doesn't always resonate. And I certainly, when I started my journey of self-development, when I started working with a coach and all this, I didn't get this and I didn't feel this. I didn't understand this. But intrinsically, as a human being, we talk about development, but you intrinsically are you. And there's no development, there's no achievement, there's no goals that intrinsically will change your worth. Your worth is your worth. You are you. And whether you are achieving goals or not achieving goals, you are still the same you. And that is enough. You are a human being that is designed to get better at things through effort. But just because you get better at something doesn't mean intrinsically you become worth more or worth less. You're still you. And I've had so many examples of this where I've really realized this. I've achieved getting into the best shape of my life, standing on stage at a bodybuilding competition and getting awarded a place in the finals. When I earned more money than I've ever earned in a 4-week period, when we broke a Guinness World Record, all these quite big achievements that you somehow think that'll be the time where I'm like, yes, I'm the man, I've arrived, I'm now worth more. It's in those moments you go, I'm just Matt. I'm still Matt. I'm the same Matt I was an hour ago before I achieved this. as I am now that I've achieved it. And if you can really get your head around that, the thing that then can confuse people go, well, what's the point in putting all this work into achieving more, into self-development? Why should I do that if I'm already enough? Well, number one part of the self-development is helping you actually acknowledge that, realize that, and believe that, because that's half the battle with many, many people is they don't think they're already enough. But then secondly, when you're like, yeah, I'm a human being designed to get better through effort. I'm already enough. I'm worth something. Ambition starts to be about, let's see what I'm capable of. Not because internally I'll feel more or less, because there's so much joy in the pursuit of achieving a goal. There's so much joy in doing good in the world, in, being able to give more to others because of how much you've worked on yourself. Most people are chasing achievement, and therefore their ambition stems from insecurity, lack of self-worth. Most people that I've met in the bodybuilding world massively lack confidence internally, don't feel enough, don't feel good enough, don't feel worthy enough, don't feel good looking enough. Most people I've met achieving millions in business did so because they were poor, they were skint, and they felt that money was the answer to their problems. Let me be clear, getting into the best shape of your life, earning millions is not going to make you intrinsically any more or less than you already are today. If you can start to truly recognize that, appreciate that, validate that yourself, then you can start to think, great, I don't need to pursue goals because it's going to make me feel I'm more worthy. I get to pursue goals because I'm lucky that I'm on this planet. I'm a human being. I'm alive. I'm here. And I can do great things with this life. And that's enjoyable. It's exciting. And most of all, it's truly fulfilling. The biggest thing I wish I'd have known 10 years ago when I started this journey was no amount of achievement will make me feel better if I don't already feel better inside. It's not about achieving goals to feel better. Achieve the goals because it's a fun pursuit, because you can have joy in the journey, because you can enjoy the process of learning new things, developing new skills, but do so safe in the knowledge that internally you are you, I'm Matt, we are who we are, and that is enough. That is good enough. That is worth enough. And because of that, you are capable of doing so much with this life. Such a powerful realization. And if you can really start to believe that, it just changes the game. For me, it changed everything. I can see Carol here saying, you helped me see that I am capable of so much more than I ever believed possible. I didn't believe in me. And guess what? Now she does. And it's bloody wonderful to see. It's genuinely a delight and a joy to see. Thanks for sharing that, Carol. All right, there we go. I've got a bit of an exclusive to share with you now. If you stay on this for the last few minutes now, just before we finish, looks like Helen's not come back. That's all right. I hope you're all right, Helen. I don't know if her battery's died, her internet's blown up, or what it is, but I'm sure if she gets a chance, she'll join us again before we finish. If not, we'll be back tomorrow. Anyway, I think we're back tomorrow at 4:30 p.m. So if you're around, set your clock and see you at 4:30. I can see Carol say, just let us know in the comments, has this been useful? Please do let us know. Has there been anything that's a key thing for you that's been a takeaway from this, from watching this, that you're going to be mindful of moving forward? And Carol saying business is growing, but better than that, I have such a different mindset and attitude to life. Absolutely amazing. I didn't know if you'd had enough, if you were tired of my voice. Are you all right?
The computer just completely froze. I had to reboot it. I have no idea. Technology hates me, as we know.
Sounds like you're living in 1997. I had to reboot my computer.
Did?
All right, guys. Thank you for being here. Helen, thanks for sharing that. That has been... we said we were excited to share this one because there's just so much, isn't there? And we really hope you do take it on board. And we'd love you to join us if you're not already part of Success School. It's completely free to join Successful for a whole fortnight. You can come and get access to hundreds of hours worth of content now around self-development and mindset, around goal setting, around nutrition, fitness, health, business, finances, entrepreneurs. There's so much in there. You can get instant access right now this second. Start working through it. You'll also join us in our private WhatsApp group where there's check-ins twice a week. There's an amazing community of people, over 70 people now in the Facebook group. And we also do a live Zoom call for members only every single week of the month. You'll get access to all of that right now, completely free of charge. And if after you've been with us for a few weeks, you still want to stay because you're like, actually, this is useful, this is great. It's less than £20 a week, which means if you sign up right now with the free trial that we've got.
Week.
Sorry, thanks, Helen. Yeah, sorry, I said week, didn't I? Thank you. Yeah, it's that'd be expensive. It's £20 a month. There we go. Thanks for picking me up on that. So if you join us right now at this point where we've got the free trial on, you basically get 6 weeks access to be with us, to be on the Zoom calls weekly and so on for less than £20. So give us a shot. You've very little to lose apart from a little bit of time and commitment. That's it. But my promise to you is that I am delivering way more value than 20 quid a month. And I'm doing that on purpose so that people don't have a reason or an excuse not to join us. So I'm going to give you an exclusive look now at the brand new podcast that has just dropped. It's a brand new episode. Before I do, anything you want to share, Helen, just to finish off this live?
No, I've just dropped the link to join the membership on Instagram and on the Facebook chats so that people have got that if they want to join. But if you want to drop either of us a DM, if you haven't managed to catch the link, we'll happily send that to you and you can come over and join us. I just think, obviously listening to this, if you haven't started on this journey, hopefully that gives you some real insight into what can be gained from it. And if you are on this journey, I hope that it kind of inspires and motivates you to stay on it because it is such a worthwhile journey going on. And just finding your tribe alone and feeling like, everything just aligns is amazing. But the fact that we've all got goals, we've all got dreams, we've all got things that we want to achieve. And going on this journey will help that to happen 100%.
I can just see Caroline Neal has just joined saying, only joined late, but agree with enjoying the journey as you are already enough. And she says, last night's call was absolutely brilliant. I mean, we haven't even touched on that. Is there anything you want to share about the call we had with Robert last night? Because it just went off, didn't it? Everybody lost their mind, I think.
Mind blown. blown. So he is a unconscious mind therapist, isn't he? And he was talking us through sort of the techniques that he uses, the way that he helps people to deal with overcoming all kinds of issues, by the way, and also
addiction, weight loss, smoking, anxiety, depression, phobias, everything, right?
And also just optimizing the way they live, getting the best out of themselves as well. So even if they don't have any issues, it was mind-blowing. I can't even, all the stuff that he was talking about as well really aligned with everything that Matt coaches. So he was talking a lot about the reticular activating system.
Yeah.
And about how our minds delete, distort, generalize our thoughts, which is all stuff that Matt coaches. So to see it align in that way that, he's an unconscious mind therapist, Matt's a mindset coach and a life strategist and business strategist. And also from a personal point of view, I've been through traditional therapy, like CBT and things like that, which also look a lot at distortions and things like that. And it just, for me, every time I hear things like this and it all aligns, it just proves to me more that it's right. Do you know what I mean? And that it reaffirms that this stuff works. Everybody's singing from the same hymn sheet here. This stuff works. And I think, but what he was saying, and not just that, but his energy and the way in which he presents it was just wild. Right from the off, I was like, oh, this is going to be good. This is going to be good.
It's great.
Just so unique, isn't he, in the way in which he presents it and stuff. What did you take from it? I'd be interested to know what you thought.
That was me doing the hands up emoji, if anyone couldn't tell. When you're like, hey, I'm trying to do that emoji. But I think you hit the nail on the head. what we talk about works if you do the work. That's what I always say. And I have had therapy with various different therapists, and spoke to therapists, counselors, so on. We've had multiple guests on that are therapists, and I've read books on therapy. And even though, I mean, I'm trained in hypnotherapy and timeline therapy, although I don't practice it a lot, I do use it as when if I think it's useful for people. But at the heart, I'm not a trained therapist in the traditional sense of like going, you know, and studying it for years in sort of more traditional education route. But we do get people like that to speak at Success School. It's always aligned with the mindset coaching. It's never, I mean, I don't know if you would disagree with this, but from you, I mean, is it CBT you've done? What are the therapies that you...
So I've had ERP, which is a specific form of CBT. So it all does fall under CBT.
Yeah, and you've had various therapy. You've obviously done the self-development, the mindset coaching. You've listened to the different guests we've had. Do you see discrepancies really? I mean, sometimes things are phrased slightly different, or, you know, we were saying, even Rob said, I don't agree with this way of doing it. And you were like, he's right, but they actually don't do it like he's saying anyway. They are doing what he says. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, he was on about exposure therapy, and he was like, oh, I don't, you know, and I was like, he's right in what he's saying, but he's getting it, like, what exposure therapy actually is, having been through it, isn't really what he's pulling it up on being anyway. So
right. That's what I mean.
You know what I mean? Like, but no, not at all. I think there's different approaches, the different ways of doing it. And obviously in terms of psychotherapy, which is what I had for ERP, there's specific ways because it is to treat a chronic disorder. So it has to go deeper. It has to be more sort of like concentrated and things like that. But essentially, it's all about kind of the same thing, essentially.
Same principles. Yeah. And that's what, you know, we're seeing time and time again. So the message really is, do you want a better quality of life? Do you want to be a better person? Do you want to work on yourself? Because we're here giving you it at Success School, and it works. And whether you go to, you know, and different people will work in different ways, but the principles will usually be exactly the same. What works if you do the work. The question is, are you doing the work, and are you getting some kind of support to be the best you can be? I can see Tiff has also joined late, so we'll check out the replay. Caught the last bit about already being enough, though. Defo need to work on that. As in, very guilty of successful outcomes equals your worth. Yeah, honestly, it's such a game changer when you start to now. We talk about the reticular activation system there. When we start to hone in on the achievement of the goal will not make you worth anymore. The pursuit, the journey, the enjoyment is why we go after goals, not because it's going to make us more or less than we already are. It's a massive one. Carol, who I have worked with on timeline therapy, says timeline therapy is powerful stuff. And I know the results we got with Carol were incredible. There was a couple of sessions where we did timeline therapy, and it really, really helped Carol. So I do that kind of therapy. It's just not the traditional kind of therapy. But yeah, the same principles, time and time again. I mean, last night was just amazing. There's the link there to join us. It's completely free to join us, like I say, for a few weeks, and it's less than 20 quid a month anyway. If you want to watch that 2-hour Zoom, just short of 2 hours that we did last night with Robert, it's available right now in the members area. You just need to make sure you get an account if you haven't already. Right, I'm going to give you an exclusive now, people, as a thank you for being here. But genuinely, thank you. And if you have found this useful, if there's been some things in this, if you watch us regularly, you'll know what I say at this point now. But I really do appreciate it if you could share this, because we are on a mission to help as many people live happier, healthier, and more fulfilling lives as physically possible. That is tough, you know, when there's just a couple of us and our small community at Success School. So if you would be willing to share this video on Facebook and things like that, and if you could go on better, put a little caption saying why you think people need to take a bit of time to listen to this video, it would be massively appreciated. And as I always say, in doing so, you help us help other people start to really help themselves. And between us, it's this positive movement, this ripple effect in a world where there is a lot of negativity. Misery does like company. And I'd like to think that we are putting a little dent into all that BS and doing some good for people. I see Caroline Neal saying, lovely what he was saying about you only think what you feel. So need to break that pattern which is what you teach as well. Absolutely. Yeah. Changing your emotional state. You know, it is a lot of the stuff that we cover as well. Right. I'm going to give you this exclusive. Guys, right now, this podcast has literally just dropped just before we went live. So it's available now on YouTube. Have you got the link there for this one?
I sure have. I'm going to share it.
If you want a little bit more from Success School right now, a brand new episode, hot off the press, go watch it on YouTube, or you can listen if you just want the audio version, Apple or Spotify podcast. Just type in Success School Matt Hall, click the latest episode, or the YouTube is Success School Matt Hall. Again, go on YouTube, type that in, and the latest episode is now available. Here is a sneak preview from me and Helen. Thanks, everyone, and we'll see you tomorrow, 4:30.
The wave's back.
Being a journalist in the showbiz world is horrible. People who go on Love Island, I speak to Love Islanders most, and they all just want validation. They crave being loved. They crave being noticed. They crave getting their social media following. If you're on Mad at First Sight, why is it you go on a show like that and yet you're in and out of relationships now? Because surely you should be going on it because you can't get a relationship. Sure. I know so much about celebrities, about all the scandals that you do not know about most celebrities, right? I get to go to amazing places, have amazing experiences. I go to the best restaurants. However, there's 200 of you all trying to do the same thing. Who can shout the loudest? Who can be at the front of the queue going, I want to talk about that story. I've got the exclusive on it. Couldn't really do well in showbiz.
Yeah.
Couldn't get a mortgage. I was like, what's going on? Like, where's my sense of belonging? What am I? Who am I?
Has there ever been times where you've really struggled mentally?
I struggle